What's up, you guys? I know I haven't said anything all year because it's a brand new year, man. But I'm glad everybody's in here who's watching this. But cool. Topic of the video. So a lot of people ask me, really, should I start investing? And I mean, the answer is I don't know. I kind of want to talk about a little bit about that. I'm gonna be looking back and forth between you all and the screen right here. I'm kind of new to doing this channel and whatnot. So I mean, since 2020, I know you probably heard of like something about investing. You've heard about trading. You heard about Robinhood, something to the moon, Bitcoin to the moon, Ethereum to the moon, NFTs, something. All of these can be forms of investing, and by that I mean, if you're investing in something like a penny stock or a meme stock, that's really speculative. It's really risky. That's not really investing. It's kind of like flipping, trading, gambling, if you will. But then you have things like, buying Apple over a 10-year period or buying the S&P 500 over a 10-year period. That's more investing. And that's when you kind of get rid of that gambling aspect of it. But I kind of want to, the main question for this video, just to be blatant, is should you start investing? And I kind of want to break down the history of the stock market, what the stock market is, and about 10 things you should look for if you really are serious for investing and that you need to make sure that you just, kind of have on the wrap. So, history of the stock market, the 1700s is when the stock market really started, the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. About 1896 is when the Dow Jones Industrial Average came. 1941, the S&P 500 came. The NASDAQ came. We had the dot-com crash. We had the housing market crash. Then we pretty much had like a bull run between 2008 and about 2020 when COVID hit. And now, since COVID, we're kind of sitting in a bear market right now, which means that we are 20% or more down from the current or the last all-time high or the current all-time high, whatever the last height was. We're down over 20% from that. And yeah, that's just, the market in a nutshell. So kind of looking at what is the market. Simply put, the stock market is a marketplace where you can buy and sell stocks from other people, from institutions, and just all around the world. You can access these with a brokerage account. You can have a brokerage account such as Robinhood, E-Trade, Charles Schwab, just to name a few. It doesn't matter which one you have as long as you have one, because that gives you the access. One thing that I will note when you're picking your brokerage exchange, make sure that you realize whether they allow you to buy whole stocks or partial stocks. Somewhere like Robinhood and Webull, they'll allow you to buy partial stocks. But if you go on somewhere like an E-Trade and maybe a Charles Schwab, you'll only be able to buy whole shares, which does matter depending on how you're investing. But that's just something to note. So let me move on to the next subject. Should you start investing? So the main thing that I want to understand or talk to you about when you should start investing, it does matter how much money you got coming in. Let me not say that. But it's just the makeup of what is your overall financial health. So we're about to talk about 10 things that you should kind of look at, check off, or understand before you start investing, just to make sure that you're not hurting yourself and that you're fully prepared to start investing. So number one, are you over the age of 18? If you're not 18, then you should not be able to have a brokerage account, and that is okay. You can paper trade. You can still use things like TradingView to be able to look at stocks and see how they go up and down. So when you do have, that age, you're able to actually start buying and selling stocks, and you can actually be setting your money to the side. So don't lose the habit of saving to invest. Go ahead and do that, but you do have to make sure that you're 18 or older. So that's the first thing. Second off, you have to make sure that you have a device with internet access, whether that be a phone, whether that be a laptop, whether that be a friend's iPad. You just must make sure that you have a consistent and reliable way to access the internet. First off, you need to be able to look at the stocks, be able to know what's going up, what's going down, how the pre-market is, how the aftermarket is, or to be able to do your value-based investing or technical analysis, however you examine, research your stocks. Second off, you have to be able to access your broker. You can't access your broker if you do not have internet, really simple. And you need a device to be able to access that. Whether you do iPhone or Android, that doesn't really matter, but you need to make sure that you have a device so you can start investing into that brokerage account. So next, you need to make sure that you are producing income. I've had several people, students, say, I want to start investing. Okay, well, where do you work? I don't have a job right now. Well, okay, do you have an allowance? No, I don't have an allowance right now. Well, how are you really doing things? Your parents do that. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to realize, in order for you to take your money and invest, you must first have money. Whether you're getting it from an allowance, whether you have savings, whether you just have people that you know that are willing to invest in you and give you money so you can start, or whether you do have that job or you get a second job. However, you just have to make sure that you have somewhere legally that you are making and getting money so that you can invest it. So you have to be able to produce income. Next, you need to make sure that you have a checking account. Without a checking account, you will not be able to put cash into your brokerage account unless they have some type of checking account or spend account already within there, kind of like Acorns has and kind of like Robinhood has. But I say this to say you need to have a way to take a direct deposit or cash or a check or whatever, put it into a checking account, which is making your money virtual basically, so you can then transfer it over to your brokerage account. And then from there, you can start buying, selling, trading, and being active on the stock market. So you got to make sure that you have that squared. Do you spend more a month than you make? So off rip, if everything else is satisfied here, even what I'm about to say after this, if you are in a situation where you make $3,000 a month, but your car note, your food, your living expenses, your rent/mortgage, whatever, is pulling $3,200 a month, you cannot afford to invest. Just really simply put, you got to think about it. You're already operating off of a negative $200 a month because it costs you $3,200 a month, and you're spending it costs you $3,200 a month, and you make 3 bands a month. You know what I'm saying? It's simple math right there. Moving on. You must make sure that you do not have large amounts of debt at high interest rates. There's a high chance that the debt you have does not produce money for you. It's something like credit card debt. But like if you're sitting on like $20,000 of like purse debt, clothes debt, shopping expense, that's not good. You need to pay that down quickly because that $100, $200 you're investing a month, you might be getting hit with $400 in interest, fees a month. So you got to think about that. So I really am critical about debt, making sure your debt is low. It doesn't have to be zero. Like I use my credit card every time I swipe, and I'll talk about that later to get those points and stuff like that and build credit. But you want to make sure that you don't have high credit or high debt so that you're just getting hit, interest rate charges each month, especially as interest rates continue to go up at the time of the recording of this video. So, the next thing that I would say is to make sure you have a strong savings account or emergency account. The way that I really calculate that is to see how much it costs you to live a month. So going back to that previous example, we said it costed them $950 a month. It costed the other person $3,000 a month. Regardless of their situations, they know how much it costs them to live a month. So with that being said, you take that number, you multiply it by 6, and you now have half a year of expenses. So if you were to go through some type of trouble, downhill, you lose your job, you get sick, you get injured, you don't produce income, you have 6 months to get everything figured out because you have this lifeboat. This is very important because I've seen people lose a job and then they lose everything. They lost their one source of income. You should be building more than one, but if you only have one right now and you lose it, you have to realize how quickly things can change. Like you could really just go through a whole bunch of toughness. You know what I mean? If you don't have something like an emergency fund, like a medical bill can knock you out, a car expense can knock you out, a dentist appointment, if you don't have insurance and stuff like that. It's just things that you want to think about. So if you have this savings account, this emergency fund to the side, then if you do get hit with a life event, you're not tapping into your investments off rip and you're allowing them to continue to grow. So you want to make sure that you have that set to the side. And if you can't do 6 months, try to do 3 months or a couple of months and then build up to 6 months. But you will be glad that you had it, just to be honest, if that event does come. So yeah, moving on. You're not going to make money every single day, every time you're in the stock market. You will open your phone to some red days. You may be opening your phone to a series of red weeks. Just like a lot of other people, we are in a bear market, which is, an opportunistic time if you understand technical analysis and the value of buying when things are down versus up. I'll talk about that in another video. But I'm saying all this to say, basically, you will lose money whether you invest in the right company at the wrong time or the wrong company at any time. You will lose money, and it's not the end of the world. You just have to make sure that you've done your research and that you're comfortable with losing and pulling out a loss opposed to just holding a loss and letting it take away your whole, all the capital that you invested. And I'll go a little bit deeper into that in a different video. But the main thing is you will lose some money, and that's okay. Everybody. Unless the first time you invested in the market, you made money and then you chose not to ever again invest. That's the only, or you never invested, period. That's the only way you won't lose money. But there's a chance that you will lose money because there's no way that the stock that you have. I have a phone call coming up. Give me 1 second. Hey, what's up, Toot? I'm recording. You said what? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I'm over here recording and talking all this shit. So I'm make sure I delete this shit. Where were we? So yeah, something about losing money. You will lose money. Understand that losing money is just a part of the game. Just simply put. So next point. Once you get everything else that we talked about handled, it is important that you start to commit to yourself a certain amount of money that you want to invest per month. For me, I started off with $50, I think, a month. And then that was really light because I didn't have a lot of expenses when I started in college. So then I tried to push it up to like $30, $40 a week. So then that ended up being like $120-ish a month. And then I just kept pushing. Like I realized how much it cost me to live. As I grew, I went from a dorm that was paid off to having an apartment, which costed a certain amount, to having a house, which had a certain amount. So being able to kind of change my budget up then, but making sure that I'm still investing, well over 20, 30, 40% of my income as I am continuing to go through life, and as I make more, I will invest more and avoid trying to make my lifestyle cost more. Like if I say I make $50K a year and I'm getting $1,500 a month. If I start making $75K a year and I start getting $2,300 a month, I don't need to say, oh, I make more. Let me get a better apartment. Let me get a better house. What you have done is effectively, proportionally increased your cost of living based off of just your salary. You still have a house and a car. It just costs more because you make more. So you're in the same position. Avoid that by investing more. Last point. Once you commit to investing a certain point, you got your budget, everything else that you need to know what you're going to invest in. And this is not financial advice. I'm just a talking head on YouTube. Like, you don't even know me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you talking about? You're not listening to me. But if you were listening to me, random talking head, you should be looking at the top 500 companies in the U.S., and that is in the form of the S&P 500. You can find the S&P 500 by going on Google and typing in SPY ticker. Once you see that, the SPY is, the SPDR's version of the S&P 500. So again, that's not financial advice, but they're the top 500 companies in the U.S., and the U.S. is the top stock exchange in the world. So if one person were to look at the top 10 holdings of the top 500 companies in the U.S., that might be a pretty strong portfolio, if you know what I mean. Anyway, but so I made this video just because a lot of people are asking, how do I start investing? A lot of people are saying 2023, I want to start investing. This is not financial advice. It is a wonderful time to start investing because if you were to look at a chart, and we're going to talk about technical analysis probably in the next episode because it's so major. But if you were to look at the chart, it's like at one point in time, everything was high. Now everything is low. You will be trying to find all the money in the world that you could to buy that TV, that purse, those sneakers, whatever. You got to have that same energy with stocks. That's my TED Talk. I appreciate you for looking at this. And if you want to know more, if you want to learn more, just please subscribe. I'm going to try to post 2 videos a week. I really did bad with that last year, but let's see what happens with it. So I appreciate you for watching. I'll see you next time. Yeah.